So, Michael B., I want to thank you for providing a very entertaining date night for me and my husband. We watched Without Remorse the day it
Thank you.
dropped. Yeah, I'm a big Tom
Okay.
Clancy movie. Like, I've seen all of them: Clear and Present Danger, Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games. So,
Yep.
I was really ecstatic to see you being a male lead in this movie because he ain't had a whole lot of black folks in the Tom Clancy movies. It's like you,
Mm.
James Earl Jones. That's kind of about what I remember. And
Not
then
bad company, but
no, not at all. No,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you
yeah.
you are the unquestioned star in this, and of course for them to have um, someone, I guess, what the niece of who his character was in this, and Jodie Smith Turner. I thought that I was like, oh shit, it's two black people up in here. Like we doing this, we out here. But from your perspective, to be in a movie that's got such a great track record, great author, to be a black man being at the center in this franchise movie, what did that mean for you?
It meant a lot. I think representation, as we know, is really important. So to be able to, take a genre that doesn't have too many of us, at the forefront, and be able to make a solid action movie, especially from the Tom Clancy universe, was really, really special. This like the novel was written back in the early 70s. So to be able to make something that 50 years later felt like today, and through a black lens, I think was really, really like important and fresh. So modernizing it, making it feel like the world that we live in today, I think was a lot of fun. I used to play the Rainbow Six video games all the time, so all those hours of imagining myself in those missions, and pretty sure my mama yelling at me, telling me, "Get your ass off that, get your ass off that game." I finally had a chance to put those to good use, and make a movie I'm excited about.
A lot of action in this one. You
Yep.
busted much ass. But what I loved about it too is, and I think you've talked about this in previous interviews, and I'd like for you to expand on it about how, even though it's significant that you're a black character in this role that was not written probably for a black character in mind. In fact,
Mhm.
it wasn't. You still, as you do in every role, brought your blackness to the table. And it's one particular line I remember when you're like, this country doesn't love us back. So I'm wondering, is that something you added, or is that something that was like written, or something that you gave a note on, like, hey, this is how somebody in this situation might respond?
Me and one of the producers, we were just going through what that scene meant, and what John would be feeling, how to, when you're breaking down scenes, sometimes it's like, all right, what information are we getting from John? Like how is this pushing the character forward, in our story? And it was a moment where we were figuring out, after the loss of his family, like in that moment, like how betrayed did he feel? How would it feel for somebody who would have done anything, for his country, to be of service, and then to have that trust kind of, ripped away, especially told as a black man, through that lens, and we just went with it, and it felt right. And we, so I mean, just to be honest, to be fair, like my experience when it comes to like producing and dealing with playing characters that might not have been written, black, and I haven't had any real struggles with having to, change or alter or make it what it needs to be to make it real. So I've been fortunate enough to work with collaborators and have studios and production companies that understand and fully support and is down for it. So it's been cool. It's been a cool ride, in the sense of, there hasn't been much resistance. But that line was powerful, and it was spot on, and it was, it's how John felt. It's how I felt.
Lauren London plays your wife in this movie, and by the time this podcast is there, Without Remorse will have been out for a little bit. So, spoiler alert, I guess. And it was good to see her on screen for a lot of people who have just wondered how she was doing, especially in light of losing her significant other, Nipsey Hussle. But the role she plays in being someone who is, your wife who's killed. I'm wondering, as you all were filming this, is that, how was this particularly emotional given what her personal experience has been?
Yeah, I think it was very emotional. I think we wanted to be, aware and sensitive of that, and something and how we shot some of those scenes. But also, you know, her sharing her experience with me, and having, pretty lengthy conversations around grief and suffering, and what that look and feels like, really helped me get to a certain place as a character. She was really transparent about that, and I was extremely grateful, for that. But yeah, like we missed her, man. She's very talented and has so much to give. So, wanting this to be a little therapeutic, for, as artists, sometimes this is like our space to like vent and to like express ourselves, a certain type of way. And she felt like it was time for her to do that, So it just kind of lined up like where she was in her life, this project, and yeah, it all kind of lined up.
Given the blockbuster nature of Tom Clancy films, and we're still in the pandemic, coming out of it, seeing a little light at the end of the tunnel. Was there a part of you that missed or thought about what this would be like as a wider big screen experience, like we were accustomed to having pre-pandemic, and how did that sort of how did that how did you approach that? The fact that this was going to be on streaming and a little bit different than how we've seen big budget movies.
It was my first time going through it. I think we were all figuring it out at first, in the sense of, we finished the movie and then we immediately went into quarantine. So I think figuring out how to edit, how to what was that process going to be like? What would theaters trying to project, and assume what, if things would be back to normal by now or not? And having to guess in some areas. But as far as like a, movie theater experience, like I think there's one thing that the pandemic really showed us is that, watching movies, at home and streaming, you can still get that experience. I think you can still enjoy movies like this at home, at your own time. And I think there's something really cool to that. I mean, yeah, do I love going to the movies? Of course. Like that's like what I grew up doing. That experience is awesome. But I think finding new creative ways to kind of bring that movie theater experience home, I think is extremely important as well. And in the future, we'll start to see that balance. There was a time where, downloading music was like not a thing, everybody wanted their vinyl records. And then it was like, the CDs and so it was like, there's always going to be an evolution of systems. So I think this is just the next evolution. We just got to find a balance.
These kids don't know shit today about recording off the radio. Hell,
No,
you
what?
probably barely know about it.
Playing record, I was making my own little mixtapes. You know what I'm saying? Little cassette with the two
with the dual cassettes.
on it.